Teo has a final little thing to say.
Yes, thank you. A round of applause for Henrik, of course. Yep. Brilliant. Okay, I only have 5 more minutes at the end, and I would like to introduce you to an idea. Now TEDx Stockholm is over, but this is not by any means the end. Now, if you reflect on it, a year ago there were no TEDx's at all anywhere in the world, and as we heard from Bruno, so far there's been about 100, I guess, and there's 300 more coming. Let's get the sign up behind me here. Okay, while we wait on that, there is one important group of people to thank, and you have done it many times during the day, but I would like us to do one last round of applause for all the speakers and musicians that we had on stage at TEDx Stockholm, because they are the main people at this event. Okay, TEDx is not over. This is actually the start. Now, I told you a year ago there were no TEDx's at all anywhere in the world. Now there is 100. And TED itself didn't exist, at least not for most of us, until just a few years ago. It's a brilliant idea. They take other ideas, put it on the net, and all over the world, in the slum areas and in the center of New York, people are watching videos to get inspiration. And I must say, the most inspiring part for me today was Ramazan. And I'll tell you why. The worth part in the TED slogan, ideas worth spreading. Because all over the world right now, he's 16 years old, he has a passion, he goes online, and actually he chooses not to go to teachers. That's a choice. He chooses to go to the net. Chooses the internet, so I would say it's our responsibility to put videos on the net that let young people like Ramazan encourage their passion and make it into something as beautiful as his music was. And that, of course, could be rock and science, it could be physics, it could be drums. As Peter told us, people all over the world are using his videos to learn drums. And I am sure that when we put Hans Rosling's latest talk on the internet, young people all over the world will look at him and start changing the bottom billion to get them to this part of the world. So that's what TED is doing, and that's what we love about TED, I guess. But then we have the spreading part. That's the problem. When I'm out, I'm asking people, raise your hand if you have seen the TED.com, and I get a 2% reply. Now, that's a raise of hands, and of course, raise of hands is not very scientific. I learned that in Norway a couple of weeks ago. I asked them, raise your hand if you are here. And I got a 98% reply. And I actually asked the people who didn't raise their hand, by curiosity, why didn't you raise your hand? And one of them said, well, Teo, I got divorced yesterday, and I honestly don't care about anything you say today. So, I mean, you can respect that. The other guy in Norwegian, and you who are Swedish know that this will be even more funny in Norwegian, I asked him, why didn't you raise your hand? And he said, Teo, I was at the gym last night. I can't raise my hand today. So sure, I mean, a raise of hand is not a very scientific thing to do, but when I do ask people, have you been to TED.com, 98% say no, and only 2% says yes. That's the problem. The spreading part is the problem. I mean, we have been working very hard, a group of us, and so far we put 2 small dots on the Swedish map. There are 100 dots all over the world, but so far there's only 2 dots in Sweden. That's not very much. TEDx needs to grow, and all of us has that passion. We want it to grow, but it's growing at a pace that I think is too slow. It needs to grow, and grow, and grow, and grow, and actually today I would like to introduce an idea to you. An idea worth spreading, because Richard Florida, you know Richard Florida? You know the guy who named Sweden the most creative country in the world? You know the guy that put Stockholm on the map as the most creative city in the world? And now we have picked people from a lot of people wanted to come, a lot of creative people, and we wanted a mix of those creative people to bring here. So we have 200 creative people in the audience, and I realized sitting here that if we have 200 of the most creative people in the world, in the most creative city, in the most creative country in the world, you are by definition the most creative people in the world sitting in this room. Yay! So we at TEDx Stockholm, we had an idea. There's been 100 TEDx events all over the world, and Bruno might say that that's a lot. We disagree. And we would actually would like to make Stockholm stand out in the TEDx community by launching TEDx Stockholm as the biggest TEDx event in the world. Now, if you want something to be big, it needs to be big, right? I mean, San Francisco, they had 1,200. Dubai was going to be maybe 1,000 people, maybe. And we only had 200 here. And trust me, 200 is quite a job to do. Now, the idea is not to make a San Francisco event where we have 1,000 people, because we would think we will lose some of the specific TEDx atmosphere that we have today, that people meet and you get to talk to each other, and we think we might lose that. So how could we make a TEDx event to be the largest TEDx event in the world without making a huge event out of it? Here's the idea. December 5th, 2009. All of you guys, you love TED. You are creative. You can get things happening. We challenge you at TEDx Stockholm for you to arrange your own TEDx Stockholm on the same day, December 5th, 2009. Invite your friends or your mother or some colleagues, or make a splash out of it. Make, get Eva and get 200 people at one place. Do whatever you think is the best way to spread TED. It could be 5 people, it could be 2 people, it could be 2,000 people. But we challenge you to not only watch TED Talks, but to spread them. Now, so far, we have 2 little dots. If 20 of you guys rise to the challenge, on December 5th, we will have 20 TEDx Stockholm. That will make it the largest TEDx in the world. But we had 550 people that didn't even make it through the doors, and if we ask them, and we ask our friends to do the same, maybe we can have 100 TEDx event on December 5th. If all of you who came here did it, we will actually have 200 TEDx events on December 5th. Yes. Now, you've seen the site. It's barely visible here, but you've seen the site. We are at number 3 now in Stockholm. The next one is a bit dimmed. We don't even know how big the next one is going to be. Actually, that's now up to you guys. It could be twice the size of this, 400 people meeting on one day to have a TEDx event, or it could be 20,000 people everywhere in Stockholm watching TED Talks, spreading ideas. Now, I'm going to end with a quote. It's actually a quote from JFK, John F. Kennedy. You might recognize it. I changed it a bit. It goes like this. And so, my fellow friends, ask not what TEDx can do for you, ask what you can do for TEDx. My fellow TEDx Stockholm members, ask not what the Americans will do for you, but what together we can do for the inspiration of man. Or if you'd like, one quote of Gandhi instead, we have to be the change we want to see in the world. Now, please, reflect on the idea, see what you can do, because the slogan of TEDx and TED is not ideas worth watching, it's ideas worth spreading. Thank you very much.